Good Omens by Terry Pratchett and Neil Gaiman, two amazing modern-day fantasy authors coming together to write one of the best exercises in modern absurdism I've ever come across. I don't know if you know exactly what absurdism is, but essentially it is the practice of whatever fiction you are writing, kind of having the mentality of F it. Why not? Great examples of this that many people are familiar with are things like Rick and Morty, Futurama, Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy, or maybe some of the more strange, weird episodes of classic Star Trek. Very often this writing or creation style is used for great comedic effect, and I personally enjoy it immensely because traditional storytelling can become kind of boring, and absurdism allows you to take turns that really circumvent traditional storytelling. It's actually quite wonderful. I love it, in fact. And Good Omens is definitely a great execution of this. The setting is almost modern day, and it's basically the apocalypse is coming. There are all kinds of signs it's coming, but let's sit down and hash this out. Demons aren't necessarily the most evil people. They're just doing a job, while angels can be snobby or ridiculous. Across the board, this book is just wonderful. Terry Pratchett's kind of just crazy, zany approach to fiction is as prevalent as it's ever been, and even like the Discworld. The zany absurdist approach that Terry Pratchett is known for is stronger than ever here, and Neil Gaiman's incredible work with tone and world building is as prevalent as it was with American Gods. I thought maybe Neil Gaiman was just really good at crafting maybe this more ominous tone that we see in American Gods, but no, he can also really work with more of a goofy, lighthearted approach, which has certain aspects which could actually still lend stakes to the story that's happening, which is very difficult in absurdism, but Good Omens pulls off quite nicely. If you do want a traditional story structure though, I would stay away from Good Omens altogether because this is not the case. You are not going to get your typical rising action and conflict, climax, all of that. There's just no continual feeling of rising stakes. It's not about that. It's more focusing on humor and just kind of poking fun at a lot of cliches and tropes. And it really just felt like these two authors are having a good time writing what they were writing. My recommendation for this book might be a bit strange. If you're a fan of shows like Rick and Morty and Futurama and you want to pick up a absurdist, that kind of humor and style story and get into literature, dive right on in. But if this is maybe your first instance of trying to deal with absurdist fiction, then I would still recommend Hitchhiker's Guide to be your entry point. But if you've already read that, you've done the typical ones, and you need something new, go right on ahead and pick up Good Omens because it's on the level that it should certainly be remembered, and it deserves the popularity it's currently getting. But no, it's not becoming my default recommendation for fictional absurdism. That's going to remain Hitchhiker's probably forever. Douglas Adams is really just the king of all of that. It's really, I can't talk about story details that much because they're so weird and like there's so many little things. It would just be like this and that. It's really just not your typical story structure, which I found to be kind of refreshing. But if you find yourself being someone who's more along the lines of, I need that cyclical pattern that most stories fall into, which is perfectly acceptable and fine, a majority of audiences do prefer that, this might not be your cup of tea because it rallies against that hard. Yeah, I'm feeling a apocalypse out of 10 for Good Omens. I hope you guys like this video. Like and subscribe if you have not already. Hit the Patreon if you want to support what I do here. And tomorrow there's going to be a little bit of a different video where I talk about gatekeeping in the fantasy community and as a wider whole and why it's one of my least favorite things people do. Have a good one, y'all. Peace.